Hi, welcome to week number 9 out of pressure and into pleasure. This is my third time trying to do this video. Okay, so we're talking today about the feminine. And why I'm talking about the feminine today is because it has come to my attention that some women find the word feminine triggering, right? And I will say that I actually, for a span of time, also didn't like the word feminine. And I found, people who talk about feminine and masculine, I was like, well, we're all feminine and masculine energies, so why do you need to define it? And that is one way of looking at it. And then I started to get educated about the divine feminine. I started to read what actually happened in our history, what happened to women, and I started to read about Mary Magdalene, the lost scriptures. I started to get really insight into what has actually been done to distort the feminine, and it's given me a whole different understanding of the power of the feminine and the power of the masculine with the feminine. So let's look at it for a moment, right? So if the word feminine triggers you, if you kind of feel like ugh to the word, and you have a female body, are you actually having an aversion to your own true energy, your own true essence? And why? Why are you having that aversion? And that's where understanding history really is helpful, right? So let's go back to before the coming of Christ. There was a time when the feminine ruled alongside the masculine, but the feminine was honored. It was female leaders. It was the feminine that was consulted when it came to leadership choices. And the masculine also led, but alongside the feminine. When we look at the coming of Christ and we look at the story of Mary Magdalene and what the church turned Mary Magdalene into, a story that she was a prostitute and dehumanized her and didn't want to acknowledge that she actually was in a divine union with Christ, with Jesus. They were in partnership. They had a sacred union. He was representing the divine masculine embodied, and she was representing the divine feminine embodied. At that time in history, the feminine was not acknowledged. And so her story was twisted. She was written out of the scriptures. She was written out of the Bible. And so there's all these lies that have been told about women. To why? To demoralize them, to take their power away, to shame them, shame their bodies, to demoralize them down into being sexual objects, right? And even if you look at the story of Adam pulled Eve out of his ribs, like, really? Are we really buying that story? Like, have we not enough critical brain power to understand that, like, to give birth, the woman gives birth through the womb. That's how children come into the world. And rather than acknowledge maybe it was Eve that gave birth to Adam, instead we are told, no, Adam came through, or Eve came through Adam's ribs. Okay. So it's like questioning why were women written off of the history books? Why did they not want to acknowledge Mary Magdalene? Why did they turn her into a prostitute? Why were women hunted? Healers, mystics, teachers. Why were they turned into witches and demonized and accused of doing evil and burned at the stake? Right? And so when you look at what has been done to distort the feminine, now you might have an inkling of why you might not have you might have a little bit of an aversion to that word. because we have been entrained to be ashamed of your feminine energy, of your feminine body. And I just want to pinpoint a piece of information. This is from The Return of the Divine Sophia, Healing the Earth Through the Lost Wisdom Teachers of Jesus, Isis, and Mary Magdalene. So 50 million people were slaughtered for the crime of heresy by Roman persecutors between AD 606 and the middle of the 19th century. This is an estimate. Over the past few decades, historians have discovered a 550-year time span between the 13th and 19th centuries that they called the Burning Times. While we know that some men were killed during these times, it was mostly women. The majority of those people murdered were female. During the Burning Times, over 80% of those killed were women. And they were often herbalists or midwives with a knowledge of plants, stars, and earth. The women and men were remnants of the vast network of healers, priests, and priestesses from the ancient mystery schools, whose vocations have been passed from generation to generation. These women, their powers were feared by the patriarch, by the system that was trying to rule, to dominate, to control. So there was a time where on this planet where the mystery schools were acknowledged, where priests and priestesses and healers and herbalists and those in connection with the earth and with the stars and with wisdom, they were honored. And through all the centuries, that was annihilated, right? And it became being in touch with your feminine energy, being in tune with your wisdom, being in tune with the earth, with herbs, with plants, with healing. That became a crime, that became feared, that became a reason to be killed. So is it any wonder that here we are in 2025 and we might have an aversion to the word feminine, right? And the other part of it is that we're still living in a very toxic masculine world, right? And we can see that what's going on in the world right now. Wars, violence, starving children, killing innocent people, greed, right? That is all very toxic masculine. Now, women can be toxic masculine and men can be toxic masculine. And the sad thing is that, yes, you are feminine and you are masculine energy. You're yin and you're yang and you're both, right? But if you're a woman and you have a female body, you also have to understand how your body works. It does not work in the same way as a male body. And so a lot of women these days are living their lives and running their bodies as if it is a male body. And it's sad because our medicine, our medical systems, our education systems do not educate you about the female body, right? How many of you got educated about your menstrual cycles going to school, or even understanding your phases? A woman has a 28-day cycle. A man has a 24-hour. Men replenish their energy every 24 hours, which allows them to get up, go out early, work for the day, come home and still have energy. Women are not able to function like that. We have a 28-day cycle, so our energy fluctuates. We go through a week where we've lots of energy. We go through another week where our hormones fluctuate. We go through weeks where we're tired. We have a week where we bleed. And even if you don't have a menstrual cycle anymore and you're past that, you still have fluctuating energy all the time. You don't create the way men create because you don't have a male body. So that's where I think it's really important not to dismiss the feminine, right? Because you're dismissing your connection to your body and understanding that, oh, yes, I can have masculine energy and I can use the masculine energy, right? Because for me, the masculine energy is great for taking action, for setting up systems in my business, for getting things done. But I also have to honor the feminine energy in me, and my body needs to rest more. And I can't force myself to do things. I create from spurts. And the feminine is present with sensation. And so even if you look at it from like the spiritual world, right? Masculine is all about consciousness. It's all up here. It's like if you look at Father Sky, right? It's up here. It's like third eye, crown. It's all up and out. Feminine is Mother Earth. So feminine would be like the root, your genitals, your sacral, your solar plexus. It'd be all down here, lower. Body, right? So it's all that body and earth. So if you're a woman and you're very much up in your head and in your mind and out here, you're not embodied. You're not down in your womb. You're not down in your genitals. You're not connected with the earth. You're not connected with the feminine essence, right? And we've been entrained that way. We've been entrained to dissociate from our bodies. Our bodies have been sexualized. We've been taught to be ashamed of our bodies, which is to be ashamed of your sensualness, of your sensation, of your softness, your touch, your ability to be present with yourself, with your own body, your turn on, your orgasm, an orgasm is just you being alive in your body. That's what it is to embody the feminine. It's to be alive, present for sensation, not just up here. You can be up here when you are down here first. So when you connect with your base, right? When you are grounded in your body, you're connected to your solar plexus, your power, you present for sensation, you soften, things flow, you have ease, you sleep well, you feel connected to others. You're able to nurture and care for your children, for your partner, for your projects, for your business. You're not so much in your mind. You're not trying to control and micromanage everything. Then you can come up to these higher, right, more esoteric spaces, third eye, vision, crown, consciousness, and also have the ideas coming through, be connected to spirit and source. But first you got to go in to the body. And every single thing I've read, like I read the Sophia Code, I read Mary Magdalene's Last Scriptures, I've read this Return of the Divine Sophia, all these books I've read about the feminine. Rose Gold, I've read another one, Rose Gold Goddess, I think it is. Women Who Run with the Wolves, everything I read, the stories they tell about Isis and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary and the White Buffalo Woman and Kuan Yin, all their stories come back to the same lesson, which is that whatever happened, like whatever trauma or suffering they experienced, they had to transcend that through the body and find it in their hearts to have compassion and forgiveness and turn that suffering into like transmute it through the body, not through the mind, through the body. And what all these goddesses did is they embodied, like they came here, they embodied, and they channeled all these energies, the suffering, the pain, the grief, all of it, they channeled it through the body and they transmuted it and turned that heaviness to light, to joy, to aliveness, to pleasure, to sensation, to orgasm, to aliveness. And that's what brings you to spirit. That's that sacred union, right? And so it's like we're living in a world that's constantly shaming your body, sexualizing your body as a woman in particular, so that you don't go in, so that you don't have that connection to your sensations, to your pleasure, to your aliveness, because the world is scared of women who are alive in their bodies and don't shame themselves. And that's what my invitation is to embodying your feminine, and that's what I teach. True movement, true breath, true sound is armoring this shame around our bodies as women, this shame around using our voices, our sounds. We're all trying to walk around and be all, it's not like feminine, like, oh, I'm going to sit here and be all feminine and prime and proper and like, you know, be so mannerly and controlled. No, to embody your feminine is like to come alive, to use your voice, to roar, to be alive, to be connected to your wildness, to nature, to the art. It's not sitting there, you know, trying to fit in and be feminine from what the world has told you feminine is. And that's my invitation. If you have an aversion to the word feminine, what is that really? Is it to what you've been told feminine is that it actually isn't? That's the distorted feminine. That's the toxic feminine, right? That's the image that you've been fed about feminine rather than divine feminine. And you might not like the word divine. You don't even have to be divine. Like what is it for you to feel alive in your body, to feel connected to your heart, to your womb, to your genitals, to your sensations, to allow yourself to move, to breathe, to sound, to feel. And that's my invitation to the feminine, to embody feminine, embody your feminine. Women in particular, when they move their bodies, are able to alchemize energies. Now, of course, men are too. And men can do it differently. And that's again, like a woman, because her body is designed, whether you have a womb or don't have a womb, your body is designed to give birth to, and that birth doesn't have to be to children, right? It can be to ideas, to projects. Your body is your home. For men, it's a little different. They go out and they build and they hunt and they gather, right? And they create their territory, their home that way. But for a woman, it's her body. And so for women to get back into their bodies and de-armor this shame, true sound, true movement, true breath, that's coming alive in your body. And then you can invite the masculine in. Then you can invite the structure, the systems, all those energies, right? But you cannot restore connection to your body by going to the masculine first if you have a female body. You have to restore the feminine first. So restore the feminine first within you, the connection to you, the connection to your body, the connection to sensation, and then you can bring the masculine in. And the same has to happen in the world. Because the feminine has been so distorted and so violated in the world that until the feminine is restored, the masculine won't be. So the feminine has to come first. And that's it. That's my 2 cents on feminine, on the feminine. I really invite you, if it's a word that triggers you, to explore it. Explore why. Explore what feminine really means. Explore the stories of divine feminine. Read about Mary Magdalene in the last scriptures. Read about the divine feminine. Like, go back and look at the archetypes, the Kuan Yin story, Isis's story. There's lessons in there for us. And what would it be like if you actually came back to your essence, your aliveness in your body? That's it. That's you embodying your feminine body as a woman. And then it's going to be so much easier to bring in these masculine energies, and it's so much easier then to be in relationship with man if you're a woman having a relationship with a man. And even if you're not having a relationship with a man, you start to receive men in such a different way. This isn't about I'm feminine and I'm against the man. It's about, oh my God, now I understand my dad on a whole new level. Now I understand my brother. Now I understand we actually function differently. Now I understand like where I've been actually maybe even creating competition with them, when that is not. Like, we have different roles to play here. We have different energies. We have different types of bodies. And now I can let them have their place while I take my place, rather than trying to be like them or trying to compete with them or trying to make myself like them when I'm not. I have a different type of body. So I invite you to explore it. If you want to explore more of the movement, the breath, and the sound with connecting with your feminine body, I'm going to be creating Embody Your Feminine, a movement membership starting next month. So you can go to my website and sign up for the wait list for that, and I'll let you know when it opens. You'll be the first to know. My website is in the link above. And I also have tomorrow I have a somatic sensualness class online. So I have pop-up one-off classes as well if you just want to explore a one-off class with me. And in those classes, we really explore that, getting out of that toxic masculine in your mind, always thinking, controlling everything in your head, and getting down into your body and getting present with sensation and using sound and breath and movement to really de-armor that shame around you and your body and your touch and the stories you've taken on, the brainwashing, and actually start to come alive again in your body. Can you imagine what it'd be like to live in a world where all women were alive in their bodies? And all it would do is inspire men to come alive in theirs, and then we all get to be in this world together, not competing but leading alongside each other. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video or got anything from it, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'd love to hear what your experience has been. Bye for now.